often do you ask yourself, what's wrong with people? Okay, often. Okay. So maybe the person did something to violate a social norm, or they um, they demonstrated an inability to self-regulate their emotion, and it was off-putting to us. And so we might say, well, that characterizes who the person is, right? So we might not consider the context of the situation that we observed the behavior. And we have to consider that context, or we can make faulty attributions or explanations of their behavior. So for our own selves, we have to actually kind of consider who it is that we're, interpreting the behavior of. Is it a stranger? Is it an acquaintance? Is it a loved one? Is it ourselves? If it's ourselves, we tend to understand the context, for our own behavior. And so we give ourselves a little bit more latitude for any behavioral transgressions, right? We might say, ooh, it's due to the situation. Or conversely, we might say, oh, I'm a bad person. And, make these internal attributions, which kind of like reduces our esteem, makes us feel bad about ourselves. And then it can be even more exaggerated. And that's the component of depression. So this right here, this magnifying glass, this is my perception image. And what I try to do these days is intentionally see the good in other people. I try to spot their strengths. And I also try to spot the strengths in myself. And it has been pretty transformative. So right here, we could say, do you view the glass as half full or half empty? About 30 years ago, 30, I took my first social psychology class. And I was always fascinated about how, the presence of others can impact our behavior and, our interactions with them. I remember learning about Martin Seligman's and Steve Mayer, their theory of learned helplessness, which basically is that an organism can be conditioned to endure aversive stimuli, even in circumstances where that exposure can be escaped. And so they applied that theory to depression, and they said, so if pessimism can be learned, then so can optimism. And so then began Seligman's theory of learned optimism. So here I see this as this applies. As long as I can remember, I've been an optimist. In the 6th grade, I gave a presentation to the Optimist Club at the Kern Library in Norfolk, Virginia, and I was so happy. And I remember saying, I think I came to my audience. And so it's really cool to kind of be here all these years later, sending that same message to my audience. So on this journey, it's been an interesting continuum. When I first started teaching a million years ago, the first couple of years I taught a psychopathology course, and I used Danny Wedding's Movies and Mental Illness for students to better understand the diagnostic criteria behind certain mental disorders. And so they would watch the movie, look at the criteria and say, yep, that person had this and this and so on. So fast forward, I started teaching positive psychology, and now I'm using Danny Wedding's and Ryan Nemec's positive psychology in the movies to talk about positive psychological constructs. So it's just a cool turning point. And so with that turning point, Martin Seligman, who's known as the father of positive psychology, started saying, well, maybe we should start asking what's right about people instead of what's wrong about people. And so here's where this fits with the theme of this event, right? So instead of our natural inclination to ask what's wrong with people, I ask you today to think about what's right with people. So Martin Seligman said that this bolstering of positivity and happiness can be brought about by positive emotions, deeper engagement in life, and meaning. Okay. So I put this picture of this dragonfly because dragonflies symbolize this self-realization and emotional maturity and life movement. Another component of the happiness is this idea of the pleasant life. So Sullivan said that if we can get people to amplify their positive emotions about their past, present, and future, that we can actually increase people's well-being. So this image really kind of goes along with that feelings component. And so I started happy. This was something I've had around like since I was an undergrad. I've always liked it. I've thought that emotions are interesting. It's interesting how our emotions can affect our interactions with other people. So this is one of those things to kind of be mindful of, a social cue, if you will. One thing that's interesting about that, there's only 5 positive emotions out of the 30. I noticed that as I was making this presentation, I was like, oh, that's interesting. So much emphasis on the negative. All right. The other component of Sullivan's happiness theory is this notion of the engaged life. So this love sign I see back and forth on my weekly commute to dog training. And social connections are just so important, and meaningful connections really kind of optimize our flourishing. And so it's interesting. I'm a social. My family will tell you that, oh my God, I'll talk to anybody. The students I've studied abroad with will she'll talk to people and they can't even speak the language. So I just thought that this was interesting because after the pandemic, I kind of lost that spark a little bit. I was working from home remotely. I was fine interacting with people through Zoom and Google off of that filter. I kind of just clung tight to my family and friends, that small social circle. And then in 21 and 22, I lost both of my parents within 5 months of each other unexpectedly. And so as an only child, I was craving that connection. And so, it was like I kind of really leaned hard on my family to get through that time. And I sold my house of 20 years, and I sold their house of 20 years, and I bought this house out and, that thing. It's this crazy old house. And we got a Belgian Malinois, which is a crazy dog. And so we started going to dog training, and then I found a sense of community, and I found this realization of strength. And that represents the engaged work, love, play. Okay. So, like landed on the wrong side, but that's okay. So from the mud blooms the grass. And I really liked this because this is taken in a ditch down the street from my house. And if I didn't take time to notice the beauty of this thing in a muddy creek, I wouldn't have seen the beauty of this lotus. And so the key to using character strengths are this thing that, Seligman and Peterson came up with to say what's right with people. And so I encourage you to take the VIA character survey so that you can better understand your signature strengths. So if you go to viacharacter.org, and it's a free survey, and it will tell you about what's best in you. And then you can actually give this to loved ones and you talk about what's best in them. And there's this whole sense of connection that happens. And so Dr. Ryan Nemec came up with this mindfulness-based strengths practice, which combines mindfulness with this character strength recognition so that we could recognize our own strengths and the strengths of others. And that optimizes all of these three components of happiness. You know, positive emotions, deeper connections with others, and an enhanced sense of meaning in life. So gratitude. Gratitude is one of my signature character strengths. And, you know, it was just last week that this wonderful group of students rose, gave me a challenge, and they were like, okay, yeah, we don't want any like words on slides. We want images. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be interesting. So I thought, you know, how can I convey gratitude? So in a normal presentation, I would give a shout out to these people, you know, Martin Sullivan, Christopher Peterson, and Ryan Neiman, and the VIA Institute on Character to say thank you for influencing me so much on this journey. So there's my inspiration slide. And then I give a shout out to you all for this opportunity. Creativity is one of my strengths. I hope that, you know, this presentation has given a little bit of that to you. I love your dolphin out front. Don't stop believing. That's a good thing. And then finally, I'm going to leave you with this note. Kindness is my number one signature strength. And, you know, Dolly Parton really embodies what it means to be kind. I consider her a kindred spirit, if you will. Emphasis on the kind. You get it? You like that? One of the things that she did that I think is so cool is she came up with this like inspiration library where she gave every child that is from her hometown a book every month from birth until they got into their first year of school. And I just thought that that was so cool. And so this message, I took this picture in the Philadelphia airport on the way to Rome, Italy, with a group of students when we were studying abroad to Rome, Italy last year. And we carried this message with us the whole time. And it was a tumultuous trip. And so this is it was something that really kind of was the thread that we, you know, kind of came back to pull together and get through some things that weren't so, you know, positive. So anyway, I leave you with this, and I hope that after today you will better see the good in others and hopefully spark your positive ripple. Thank you.